Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back, and this is another episode about terrain parts, and we've already oriented, and I've started adding some internal supports here on the inside of this big guy. This is a giant piece, once again working with Crippled God Foundry stuff. Great stuff there for terrain parts. This is the Orc Chieftain. I think it's this big rock, which essentially it's multi-part, where you have the middle, the top, and the bottom. Currently, this is the middle I think I'm working on here, so pretty cool. We've already hollowed this, so I'm just going along the inside and adding some supports on the inside of the model first. Now, as usual, we're going to do our islands, and I didn't edit this out, so we could chat for a second here. The island supporting system in Lychee is actually pretty good. I think a lot of people still like to use UV tools or do it by hand, which is fine. I actually suggest using UV tools or just doing it by hand, just going slice by slice and checking each layer to make sure that Lychee did not misguide or support anything that needed to be caught. The reason for this is because the way it detects it is based on the pixels that it's trying to look for as each slice goes up. And the detection engine's pretty good, but it can't catch stuff that's too small, or it can't catch stuff that it doesn't actually see as being a problem. And there's two reasons this might happen. One is because the object has um, a very, very thin sliver. It's really small, so you're barely getting like a pixel when it renders. And the other reason could just be that the orientation from above looks completely different than what it looks like from underneath and what's actually forming. And that's because what you're seeing is you're seeing the um, above spacing on top, but when you look at it from the bottom, you can actually see the true density of what's actually being printed. In that case, you can get a better feel for why it does what it does and what it actually considers an island. But I still recommend doing the job by hand, for sure. All right, this piece isn't too bad. We have 46 islands to work with. Not a whole lot, but look at that. Some mystery dots. Now, we talked about this being about terrain parts, but I'm going to give you guys a little secret here. These mystery dots are kind of weird. I noticed them the other day when I was working on this file. And the only way to fix it, I was able to take the file into Microsoft 3D Builder, which you guys can catch. I have a little video on that. And then I was able to repair it. Once I brought the Lychee file back and updated it, as you can see, those little mystery dots disappeared. Weird, right? I didn't quite get it. I didn't really understand what was going on there because I couldn't see anything that was happening. Couldn't see anything on the slider. Just did not want to acknowledge there was nothing there. So obviously something weird with that particular terrain part. Now, once you've added all the supports you need for your islands, we'll go ahead and just do like a perimeter shell. And I'll probably do this in a mixture of mediums for the most part and do a couple loops where I could kind of put a couple lights towards the edge. And then we're going to pepper in mostly lights in the middle with a mixture of some mediums. And that should be enough to support this. This will be a fairly light chunk. I mean, it will be heavy-ish, but it will be lighter than it would be if it was solid. I don't recommend printing anything like this solid unless you have an FDM. And then you really should hollow it anyway and use infill because you're going to save filament. Yeah, I don't. But again, I always hollow this stuff. I always manually support these giant pieces. And this is kind of how we do it. I do the bottom with the support painter. Because it is a nice curvy object, it's easier for me to kind of paint around. that works variably well. I mean, I have the spacing set up in this particular way so it doesn't get too crowded. And then I can kind of go in later and kind of paint in manually, kind of stick in a couple where I want to see more density. Since it's a pretty large object, you do definitely want to have density all the way up and down the bottom. You don't want any of this to have any failure. You don't want any of this to pull back or be too much for it to print. And since the bottom is a big, big, big flat slab, I highly recommend keeping the density pretty high. They don't necessarily all have to be super, super heavy supports. You can still do what I'm doing here using a bunch and bunch and bunch and bunch and bunch and bunch and bunch of light supports, and that will get the job done. If I can't emphasize that enough, you need to use a lot. So if you're using little supports like this and a couple big anchors, definitely need to use a lot of little supports. They will do their job, but they need help. And obviously don't forget to use your bracings as well, because you're going to need more bracings to make sure that those little guys can stay together. And again, we will use mediums too. This is not just going to be a light festival. So we will have medium supports in there. We will have light supports in there. No heavies though. I rarely ever use a heavy unless it is a big solid object that I need absolutely needs to be solid. That's probably my only excuse, but I really try to avoid it. Heavies cause too much damage no matter how you try to adjust it. You have to clip them off. It's just too much of a pain. I can't. I just can't be bothered, to be honest. I'm too lazy. I don't want to sand that much. All right? That's so wrong. Okay, keep making your way around, add all the supports you need. Again, using the support painter is a great way to streamline your workflow. And if you're not familiar with how to use the support painter, it's actually quite easy. You simply click onto the model where you want to start painting and then drag without letting go, and it will simply put this little circle out, and you're going to see the little dots that it creates as you go along. And like I said, it's a great way to do supporting. I love the tool. You have to set it up though. There's some little bits to it that you have to kind of make sure that you indicate, how far you want them apart, that sort of thing. And the tool will appear if you go to the manual tab, and you'll see down there below there's support painting and then inline supports, and they both have options. And you can turn them on and off. Also, don't forget to add bracings to your supported model when you're done. This is a very important step that sometimes I will admittedly forget, and we'll have a bad time with some of my supports failing because they wibble and wobble a little too much when they're not braced together. So I always remind myself, don't forget to brace or brace for impact. So anyway, that's just my tip there on that one. Don't forget to add your bracings. Anyway, that's just about it for this. I'll let you guys enjoy the export slice as usual. And as always, folks, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all the recent support we've had to the channel. Our Instagram has seen more followers. We're really appreciating it. The community that we're in is quite small. And so I get it. There's not a lot of us that are out there going, man, I want to really get into 3D printing. And now that community is growing, and so I'd love to be able to help anybody that wants to learn how to do this. So if any of you guys need any additional help, what I'm not supplying in these videos, if there's things that are bugging you, please comment, let me know. You can email us too. The email address is custom@printmymini.com, and ask us any question you want. It's honestly the best way to get what you need, really, right? Just ask questions. I have no problem answering questions all day long. So please let us know if there's anything specific that you want to see in any future episodes. Please let us know if there's anything in 3D printing that's really bugging the crap out of you and you just want to be able to figure it out, so we can help you get there. As usual, guys, thanks again so much. I will see you all soon in the next episode.